Welcome to all the delegates. Welcome to all the online viewers to this session of the Network Field Day. We have a packed session for the day. For the delegates, there is an agenda printout in front of you. This is the flow of the events for the next 2 hours with the name of the speakers and all the relevant information there. And to kick it off, give us a quick overview and introduce the rest of the technical team. I welcome Sanjay Upal, our CEO.
Thanks. Is my mic on? Yes. And the slide advancement is here. Yeah. All right, so thanks everyone for coming. As you know, this is the first time that VeloCloud is here for Network Field Day, so really appreciate, this is our inaugural event. We hope to invite you again at some time in the future. As Sri was saying, we have a pretty packed agenda. We're going to walk through what is the architecture, what are the design principles for our cloud-delivered SD-WAN. Then the bulk of it is really going to be a demo. After the demo, we'll get into a case study, close session, and then wrap up. And of course, as I pointed out to some of you, you're welcome to join us for lunch. So with that, let's get going. VeloCloud was formed in November 2012. So we're just over a couple of years old. And we launched our product and service in July of 2014. So that's just about 6 or 7 months ago. And since then, we've been collecting enterprise customers. So we've launched this with a focus initially on the mid to large enterprises, because we think that over there's a specific pain point. They make quick decisions, and we can provide that value in terms of solving the pain points that they have. However, we believe that this kind of solution is equally applicable for the service provider community, and we will talk about that. Service providers, in my experience and perhaps in yours, take sometimes longer time to make decisions. So we felt that getting a big base of enterprise customers and then going over into the SP space to use them as a channel to provide the cloud-delivered SD-WAN was the right thing to do. And we'll show you why this works equally on the enterprise as well as the cloud-delivered on the service provider side. There were 3 of us who formed the company to begin with. Myself, my co-founder and VP of Engineering, Ajit Maya, and then co-founder and VP of Products, Steve Wu. And then we have our Chief Network Architect, Craig Connors, and our Chief Management Architect, who is probably wandering around somewhere.
Well, we accelerate the WAN, but not 85, so he's stuck on 85.
Okay, all right. So he comes from way down south, so he's on 85. And between the five of us and the rest of the company, our DNA is really from 3 spaces. It's from networking, so enterprise networking, some service provider networking. It's also from security, and then from the software space, particularly around virtualization. So for example, Ajit has spent several years at VMware because we think virtualization is a key part of what we do. And then we've got some money from a few folks who you might recognize. All right, so this cloud-delivered SD-WAN, I think one of you pointed out, boy, if you guys could give out a prize for how many buzzwords we could string together, probably VeloCloud will win it. But essentially what we're saying this SD-WAN is about, or the cloud-delivered part of it, there's 3 attributes to it. The first is that we strongly believe that the cloud network is a really important portion of how we can get wide area networking to be reinvented and changed. So one portion of our service is delivered from the cloud. Now, from the cloud is both in the public cloud, but if you're a large enterprise or you're a service provider, you can deploy our technology in your own cloud. So some people call it private cloud, or you could put it in your own enterprise network. Okay, so it's both a cloud delivery portion as well as an on-premise portion. From a business model standpoint, delivered as a service today, so you can buy it on a pay-as-you-go kind of model, depending on the number of branches. You can also buy it as a product and roll out your own. Okay, so the cloud portion of that is key to that part. The second is the SD-WAN, and of course SD-WAN there's a lot about network simplicity and automation, and that has been our focus as well. But there's 2 other very important parts to it. One is that we bring in the choice of using the internet as your WAN. But one of the things that we do is we try to make that better. So we want to show you today how we can do some clever things with using the internet as WAN, either a single link or a dual link, and making that work for you for the enterprise. And we have some real analytics to show you, data that we've collected over the last 6 months, about how, for our portion of customers, the internet has worked or not worked as their wide area. And then, of course, we can extend this out to the hybrid WAN because there's a lot of MPLS out there, and so people want to mix and match between MPLS and the internet. And the third portion of this is about virtual services. So there are a lot of services sitting out there in the branch. There is a need, we believe, to get them virtualized. And so we have a virtualized service delivery model, which means that you can roll out these virtual services from the cloud, or you can put some of them in the branch, or you can do, some of these are bookended and you can roll them out on both sides. And very recently, just earlier this week, we announced that we have extended that model to introduce third-party virtual services. So we made an announcement about how we're doing that with Zscaler and WebSense. So we'll mention a bit of that as well. All right, so that's the three attributes, and then of course the CEO doesn't know how to forward the slides on, so all right, there we go. All right, so just to peel the onion a little bit, on the base layer over here is a bunch of transports, a kind of bring your own circuit model. You can bring LTE, intranet, MPLS, whatever circuit you have. Between the internet, you can throw in cable DSL, and we build an overlay on top of this. That really is the cloud network. So what this is showing is that, as I mentioned, it's an on-premise and cloud-delivered model. The cloud brings a lot of benefits to us because it's multi-tenant. We can scale from a cloud perspective. Service providers want 10 raised to 6 kind of edges out there, and so this is built for scale. And the cloud also offers us the positive attribute of redundancy. So certain portions of the cloud go down, then other portions of the cloud can take on, and we'll describe that in the demo as we move along. Sitting on top of this is that virtual service model that I was talking about, and there's a set of services that VeloCloud provides. Again, another perhaps mouthful. One of the very important services is our multi-path service. So we steer these applications on a different line depending on the condition of the line and the application that's being steered. This very simply is how we make the internet as WAN better. So that's one service. There's a list of other services out there. So we believe that this model of service delivery, some of those services will come from VeloCloud, other services will come from third parties, but it's not just going to be one service. It's not just a cloud VPN service. It's not just internet as WAN service. There's a bunch of services that enterprises will want. And then right on top of this is the SD-WAN or services orchestration layer that brings with it the automation that you want. But I think one thing that's really critical here is we are collecting analytics from our 3-layered model as we go, and we use the collection of the analytics not just to tell people how things are working, but then in some effect to program ourselves, because we want to reduce the complexity for the people who are out there in the branch in particular, but also enterprise IT. And we want to show you how we are using those analytics, because we are collecting information not just on how the wide area is working, we're collecting information on which applications are running over the wide area. And so we use that to figure out how can we program the network, how can we program our edges to make all of this work better. So that's the very simple 3-layered model. And we're going to get to most aspects of this today. So with that, I'll turn it over to Tim, who's going to walk through the architectural principles of why we came up with this kind of model, and then we're going to jump into the demo. So if you have questions, you can pepper them as we go along. Otherwise, I'm going to turn it over to Tim.
So would it be fair to summarize that what you're doing is overlay network with encryption, some IP SLA, some PBR on top of that so that you can steer traffic this way or the other way? And the real differentiator is the orchestration system and the way you provision that and the business model so it can run in the cloud instead of being on the boxes.
I think your characterization of the 3 layers is correct. In terms of where the real differentiation is, we believe that there's points of differentiation in each of those 3 buckets that I said. Yes, certainly in the way that we do the orchestration, the automation, and our business model, but we believe, certainly points of differentiation, for example, in internet as WAN, how we do that in terms of doing the per packet steering when other people may be using PFR or flow-based, and that's what we want to get to. So as we go through those pieces, would obviously welcome your feedback.
Thank you.
Yes. Just want to make sure I heard right. So in addition to the various services that you described there, you're actually also providing a platform for a third-party ecosystem to build on, right?
Exactly, because we think that today the enterprises have specific pain points. We can solve that pain point. As we solve the pain point, a platform goes in and that gives us the opportunity to provide more services either from us or from other people who may be cloud-based folks like Zscaler, WebSense, or other folks as this thing grows.
Sure.
Yeah.
Great.